Hi everyone, I'm Josh. Today I want to talk to you about my goals for 2024. But not just that, I want to review and reflect on how I managed to address my goals for 2023. I won't be just going through all my goals, rather, I'll be presenting to you my new goals and talk about how I've made progress this last year, how I feel about how my channel has progressed. It hasn't been the best year for my channel. My numbers have really lingered, and I say that while my numbers, I don't need a lot of views. It is disheartening at times when I see that there's just not a lot of engagement, which part of that is, as you'll see, be that I spend a lot of time on standalone reviews, which honestly I'm very proud of. Those don't get a lot of traction, and the traction it usually does get is by people who don't really subscribe or watch continuously. Part of the things I've been reflecting with is the value I get from the content that I make, and whether or not the people who are watching actually value it. I mean, this takes a lot of my time, and there was a 2-month period here when I didn't actually do any videos, partly because I was busy and partly because of the reality I had to deal with that sometimes my videos just don't get a lot of traction. And that is a reality that I have to think about when I'm making this channel. It is personal, but in a way, like there is some need for validation to know that I'm not just wasting my time in some of this content, which is an idea that I will explore further as we get through this. I wish I could say it didn't bother me, but it does. I just want to know that people are engaged with what I'm making, even if it's not that many people. I just want to know they're enjoying it, people who are enjoying it. Not further ado, let's just get into it, honestly. So the first thing I want to talk about is collaborations. It's my first goal. Last year I had a goal of doing at least one collaboration per quarter, which I did manage to achieve, and I want to carry this over for next year. I've been participating in the James Baldwin Readathon. We've had a video live discussion of James Baldwin books since that started. We had one every quarter, and I really enjoyed that participation, not just the opportunity to feel motivated and to feel challenged to read things outside of my comfort zone and to really get a chance to delve into those ideas of those books with others, but just that didn't the chance to build a community. When I talk about me being on YouTube and my goals, while part of it is to get engagement, I just want to have a community with the people on YouTube, and this kind of collaboration is a good way to do that. Even if it's just the 3 or 4 of us on the live and maybe a couple others watching it, there is a community there, a very real and felt community that I really love being a part of. And I'm very appreciative of Erica and everyone else who engages, whether it be through the form of participating in things like that together or just watching our content and interacting with it. I'm very grateful for you. And the reason I'm putting this first and foremost, honestly, is because I'd love to keep it going. I'd love to do more collaborations. I haven't done a live discussion or anything on my channel in over a year. And if there's anybody out there who's a content creator or who's interested in participating in content creation, let me know, because I'd love to partake in more collaborations, even if it's just as simple as, buddy reading and doing a live review together, like I've done in the past with Erica for The Broken Spine and Bree from The Locked Petition. I'd love to do more. This is me inviting people to reach out if you have any interest in doing that as well. Even if you don't know what you want to do, if you'd like to do some stuff with me, let me know. We can throw around ideas. It's just something I'd love to do because of all the things that I do here, it's one of the things I love the most. Next up is a video a week. At the time of writing this, I made 27 videos. By the time the year is out, I will have made, I think, 32. So not quite the 52, that is to say 1 a week. I made a goal for. I mentioned already that I had an over 2-month break. It was actually 2.5 months. I'm still going to aim for that. I think 1 a week is not just practical. I think it is a reasonable thing to expect people to stay engaged with. I want to be consistent, hold myself accountable. There was a while there that I easily did 2 or 3 videos a week, but I think the amount of effort it takes to make one video is reasonable enough for me to be able to work it as a hobby and to enjoy it on a personal level and hopefully get some engagement from the community as well. This month in December, I am pushing out 2 a week. That's just because it's sort of like a modified Vlogmas. Do the things that I would have done anyways in a 12 or 13 day Vlogmas section, spread out. These are, again, ideas that I'm thinking about when I think about audience engagement and what I can do to make content people enjoy, and I think it's practical. With that said, actually, that does bring up shorts, and for that, let's go and get the next goal, which is number 3, stick to a nice NetGalley schedule to keep my numbers up. I've managed to keep my NetGalley review ratio at over 80%, which just feels like a huge accomplishment. I've made standalone reviews for books that I really feel strongly about, whether it be negative or positively. And I've made a few shorts, some about books that I just feel meh about. And the more I sit on this goal, the more I feel like perhaps I will not make video reviews for every NetGalley arc. Partly because I do read some obscure things I don't think people really care. And why am I promoting something that I feel meh about, that I have no excitement about? I instead want to think about this as I want to make reviews about books that I feel compelled about, books that I really felt strongly one way or the other about. My goal is a standalone review. Unfortunately, those take effort. That takes planning and really sitting in my thoughts to make sure it'll be a competent, coherent video. So what I'm doing for myself is I'm setting a new barrier. I read a book. If I don't make a standalone review, that is to say film it within a week of finishing it, I instead opt for just a short. That way I get to talk about it in a direct and standalone way, even if it's not as expanded as I would like. Sometimes that's just how life is. The alternative is to be like now, where I have several books I haven't talked about, Lone Woman being a big one. By the time you've seen this, you will know it's my best books of the year. I haven't made a video about it because I felt like I needed to wait until I had the time to do it justice, when I should have just given it the opportunity to really spread my love of it. And now just the moment has passed. The reality is, the moment of the book being released and being fresh has passed. And that doesn't just matter when it comes to popularity. Like obviously I want engagement. It also matters as far as like the usefulness that my review will be towards the larger ecosystem of support around a book is best contributed when it's new. So that's where I'm at here. Number 4, make standalone reviews. It could be about Nick Kelly arcs. I'm more likely to do a standalone review given the effort it takes if it's a Nick Kelly book. When it comes to a book that I just read and really enjoy, feel strongly about, I have made a couple of videos like that, 1Q84 and The Only One Left being good examples of that. There are other books that I haven't made standalone reviews for because they weren't arcs and it's harder to justify to myself to making that time. Nevertheless, I want to keep that going. At least a third of the videos I made, or perhaps even more than 50%, have been standalone reviews. And while it's not been great for engagement with viewers, it's content that I genuinely enjoy and am proud of. And that's something that I am very satisfied to say. When I'm not making much content, at least the content I'm making feels like it's more than filler. That's not a criticism about anybody. I think there's some real value to be had from filler content. It's a sacrifice. It's not just me saying it's not worth it. There's a value to that. Like wrap-ups are great to get books that are underrated attention. Otherwise, people wouldn't have clicked on that standalone review. And it's a sacrifice I've chosen to make. I'll explore that in a goal later on. Okay, next up, themed reading vlogs. And this one is really hard to justify. I made one themed reading vlog this year. When I look back on the videos I'm most proud of, while there were some long reviews I do feel really good about, my favorite videos that I just honestly love rewatching are vlogs, specifically vlogs that are themed around things that I'm excited about. While I like a good book, I love an opportunity to talk about things that I love outside of books. And that's what these are great for. I also love the snapshot of my life that comes from that kind of vlog. The problem is obviously, it's a time commitment, not just the act of recording, which can be really difficult to be in the headspace to film a natural sounding vlog where I feel comfortable talking to the camera in a way that's not forced. But then there's the act of editing. I may have only posted one vlog this year, but I've edited several more, or partially edited. It's a matter of time, commitment, and wondering who cares. Vlogs, like there's some value because like honestly, I'll post a vlog just for my own benefit because I love it, it's fun, and I'll look back on it in the future, I know I will. Nevertheless, it's so much time, especially when I've had a partner lately, it's been really difficult in this last year to make YouTube work, let alone the most time-consuming parts of YouTube, like vlogs. Nevertheless, I would really like to make 2 vlogs a year. That is a goal I'm setting for myself, a biannual vlog plan, because vlogs are legit some of my favorite content to make, even if they don't have the most engagement by everyone. Next up, we're going to go to this follow-up discussion about TBRs and wrap-ups. My goal in the coming year is to do quarterly TBRs and wrap-ups. And what I'm thinking is I'll do a seasonal TBR, similar to what some people do, because I'm not doing great about keeping up with all the books I want to read, and I'm also being very flexible with what I want to read, much more moody this year. What I can do is highlight a series of books that I think I most want to read, give myself plenty of time to tackle those, while also allowing freedom and room to tackle other things that will inevitably come up along the way. Same with wrap-ups. If I'm making one video a week, think of it this way, one video a week, a wrap-up and a TBR is 2 of the 4 weeks of every month. I was doing that for a while there, and honestly, I did not like it. It felt so empty of any real value. Doing this quarterly, I think, is better. It also allows me to then cater a wrap-up. I can talk about the books that actually matter. books that I may or may not have made a review for, I'll probably end up doing wrap-ups that focus on my best and worst. Everything that's I may mention, but I won't necessarily waste my time delving into. And it, I think, will help me get the value from those wrap-ups and TBRs without having to invest too much of my time in things that I just don't think are worth my time. And that's the way I'm kind of approaching this. Then it's going to be biannual stat wrap-ups, which is to say I want to do wrap-ups of the year, but I want to look at my statistics. And part of this is because I love numbers, but also part of this is because I need to be aware of what I'm reading and what I'm not reading and how I might need to improve in that, which will lead into some of my goals after this. I intend on doing an end of year stats video this year, but I haven't done quarterly or biannual like I had hoped. While I didn't manage to keep myself motivated to do that because of the effort it takes not only to keep track of what I'm doing, what I'm reading, but also then making sure that the data and the figures I'm creating are accurate and presentable. That takes time, it takes effort. And it's not even just a question of if people are watching, because I think some people will actually watch that. It's more just a matter of the time it takes, the preparation it takes. And it really is just as simple as me deciding to make it matter. That's a goal. Whether I meet it, we will see. But we'll reflect on my actual stats for this year, probably at the beginning of next year when I get to that video. So next up is going to be a set of goals that relate to the type of books that I'm reading. An idea that I really value, to reiterate, in Jerry from Onyx Pages, read with purpose. And while I do that, even with the books that I've already read this year, there are other books that I feel like I need to make sure I am more direct in reading them. The first step is going to be make sure that half of what I read should be intersectional authors. My goal is to read a very wide array of perspectives. What I have been consistently struggling with or reckoning with is asking myself, what is the best way to approach that? How do I diversify what I'm reading without tokenizing the authors that I pick up? And I think this might be the best way to do that, where I instead think about not like, oh, is this person X, Y, or Z? Is this person giving me a unique perspective, something that either intersects with my own or just is something that I know will be a unique perspective in some way? Usually I'm talking about the author, possibly just the character, but usually I expect the author to be the same as well. There are different ways of being intersectional. And so to say that they're intersectional is a broad scope that I'm trying to encompass here. And my goal is to make sure I'm not just reading one type of perspective. I'm hoping that this goal will mean that I just naturally pick up more varied authors, which is really the goal nonstop. And that's one of the reasons why I need to do the stats videos. I can't know what I'm reading if I don't do reviews for myself. Like those stats videos are very much for my own gain. There are so many books I want to read. The things that feed into which books I'll pick up, as I've said before, can change. And I think just being aware of what I read is a huge step in making sure that I'm reading a more varied amount of perspectives. And that same idea, my next goal is to read an Interfaces book per month. And this is a huge pivot from last year, where I think I had originally said one per quarter. And this year I may have read one or maybe even two anti-racist books this year, depending on how you define that. And while I am reading a very wide array of perspectives, I feel confident in that, even if I do have a goal to constantly try to improve that. There's still fundamental ways that I feel like it needs to be an ongoing type of self-education. And that's why I want to return to this goal specifically on a monthly basis. The reason I even changed to begin with, because I went from reading 150, 200 books in a year to barely 100, which isn't trivial, but it's just making it work per month was harder given the variety of things I want to read. And the reality is I'm setting the goal high for myself, setting a very high bar for myself in hopes that by doing this, even if I fail to meet that monthly goal, I will do better than I'm doing right now. So that's sort of the idea of what I'm approaching this with. It's one of those things where I have to be in the right headspace, but when are you ever in the right headspace for that kind of book? Which is why it's sort of something I want to talk about here. And it's not an easy thing to think about, how do I approach this? How do I talk about this? And obviously I know it's not as simple as just reading a book. Things that I feel should be an ongoing form of self-education. And that's the point of this. Lastly, a goal that is important to me for various reasons, that is 1/3 nonfiction, which again, knowing what I'm reading, having stats, make a big difference in thinking about that. Having my anti-racist goal, a book per month, will also make a big difference. The reason I'm saying this is because in the last several years, I've just gone from nearly a third to barely 20%. This year, I believe I'll be pushing a quarter, which I'm proud of, and part of that is realizing where I'm at now, thinking about my end of year stats preemptively. I want to make sure I get at least 25%, if not 30 to a third of what I read. And part of that is because there's just so much value to be had from nonfiction. It's not that I feel like I need to force myself to explore nonfiction. It's all about my mindset and about how I know I will approach nonfiction despite all the value I get from reading it. And I don't just mean educational. There is serious emotional weight that I can get from a good nonfiction book. There's so many amazing nonfiction books that resonate with me just as well, if not stronger, than a fiction book. I talk about this honestly in my nonfiction journey tag that was created by Hannah from Hannah's Books. But that's why this is a major goal for me. And like with the anti-racist goal, I am setting the bar high to push up, because if I'm going from nearly 20% every year, if I set for a third, I'm almost certainly going to improve. So those are all the goals I've been thinking about for the next year and how I feel about my goals in this past year. All in all, I feel good about my channel. It's kind of stagnant when it comes to viewership and engagement. That is something that, like I said before, something that I worry about, particularly when it comes about the type of content that I make and the value that it contributes to the BookTube community. But I'm still enjoying it, and I'm proud of the videos that I made this year, and I really am. I really do feel that way. And I hope you all enjoy the content that I'm making. Let me know what your thoughts. And when it comes to the videos that I make, what kind of videos you'd like to see in this next year. And as always, I hope you all have a great day, and I hope you stay safe. And I'll see you all next time. Goodbye.